and wisdom into our lives. Okay, we call regenerating our African spirit, liberating our homeland, and reclaiming our greatness as a people. We pour this libation to bring into our midst the venerable African spirit radiating their great wisdom, courage, dedication, and unyielding commitment to victory by any means necessary. It is in the honor of our Creator, our ancestors, our children, and their children that we pour this libation for the Creator and the various manifestations of the creative spirit. We pour libations, Ashe,
Ashe,
for our esteemed masters who laid the foundation for human civilization and who provide the wisdom by which we live and the models by which our lives are guided. We call on Imhotep. We call on Queen Nzinga. We call on Tutankhamun. We call on Akhenaten. We call on Queen Hatshepsut. And we call on Thutmose II. We pour libation Ashe for our esteemed ancestors who have suffered the atrocities and horrors of our Ma'afa, the African Holocaust or Holocaust, and yet demonstrated the victorious power of the African spirit against diverse adversity by maintaining their dignity no matter the cost. We call on Kwame Osajifo Nkrumah. We call on Patrice Lumumba. We call on Thomas Sankara. We call on Andre Bluey. We call on Walter Rodney. We call on Amilcar Cabral. We call on Stephen Biko. We call on Marcus Garvey. We call on Sinette Belair. We call on Fulayo Rasool Kuti. We call on Amy James Jock Carvey. We call on Nanny of the Maroons, and we call on Beatrice Kempa Vita. We pour libation Ashe for those ancestors who survived and made it possible for us to be here today, to continue on their valiant struggle for African liberation and vindication. You can call on your ancestors in your minds wherever you are. I'm going to pause while you call on your personal ancestors. I call on my mom, Delma Ellis, my father, John B. Ellis, my grandfather, Sam Ellis, my great-grandfather, Charlie Wyatt. And we pour libation finally for our children and their children and future generations of Africans to come, that they too in their time will vindicate our race from all adversities and continue to imprint upon the world the great genius of African humanity. We pour libations Ashe, may their venerable African spirit engulf this occasion, Friends of the Congo award ceremony, to reaffirm our Africanity. It is done. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Aman is satisfied. Thank you for this opportunity.
Ashe. Thank you, Mama Dr. Nabantu, for that wonderful offering. Before we proceed with the ceremony, this has been a challenging couple of years, what with COVID, the ongoing struggle against injustice that our people have faced. And during that time, we have also had members of the family, members close to us, even at First African Church. I understand that some elders have transitioned, and today Elder Lomax will be Pastor Lomax will be participating in such a ceremony. So we thought we would need to pause for a minute, for a moment of silence, for a moment of reflection on those who recently joined the ancestral realm. I think of Sister Natalie Eleve, Brother Ernest Livingstone, and also the grandmother of one of our comrades, Brother Buka. Ernest Livingstone, of course, is the father of our dear comrade, Samori Livingstone. So if we can take a minute to reflect, to share love, and to be thankful for all that they have offered us during their time with us. I thank you. At this time, we'd like to move forward with the ceremony. I would like to invite our dear sister, Chair of the Board of Directors of Friends of the Congo, our attorney, Carrie Crawford, who, in addition to her stellar work with Friends of the Congo, is an aggressive advocate for immigrants' rights, human rights in general, and humanitarian law. And so I think, Sister Carrie, are you with us? And at this time, what we would like to do is to invite Sister Carrie to share a little about Friends of the Congo, and also to share some more about Congo Week. And Maurice, if Sister Carrie isn't able to join us at this time, maybe you can fill in.
I am
Attorney,
here. Can you hear me?
welcome, Attorney
Yes,
Carrie.
very
Welcome, dear sister.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us here today again, once again, to celebrate Congo Week. Every year we take this time to remember and reflect about what is good about the Congo. We hear so much about the negative, but we want to know, we want people to know the good about what's going on in the Congo, the beauty of the land and its people, and how we continue to stand with the people of the Congo, stand with them in their struggle for self-determination and just a decent life for the families of the DRC. Congo Week provides the opportunity every year for people all around the world to let the people of the Congo know that they are not alone. Every year since 2008, we have Congo Week in October, and since that time, people in over 70 countries have participated with us. More than 500 communities and universities, people around the world have stood for the Congo and the people of the Congo to work towards a better life for folks there in the Congo. This year, however, we sadly dedicate Congo Week 2021 in memory to our dear sister and friend, Nita Avelli, a daughter of the Congo. Nita took her journey home last month, but during her 2 short stay here on planet Earth, she used her time well because she fought, raising the issue of the Congo tirelessly for the benefit of her people. She was an activist. She was an agitator. She was one of those people who her American brother would like to get into good trouble for the Congo. She was a bridge builder, and we remember her well when we first met Nita back in 2008 when we were organizing a coalition for the Congo, Congo Global Action in 2008, an organization which she later also served as director for. So yes, we will remember Nita, the work that she has done for the Congo, because she fought to the end for a better Congo. And we hold her memory dear because she held steady and she fulfilled her sacred task. And no one can leave a better legacy than that. This year, we also would like to pay tribute as well to Juliana Lumumba, the daughter of the first president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Patrice Lumumba. We at Friends of the Congo hold Lumumba as our guiding star. We pay homage to his legacy at all times. And I personally pray for him, his wife, Pauline, and his family. So it is with great pride that we take this opportunity to recognize and honor Juliana Lumumba and to thank her and her family for lending their father to the nation and to the world. We know what a sacrifice, what a tremendous sacrifice this has been that they have made as well. We remember her father's last letter to his wife, Pauline. Those words still ring in my heart. And I quote, We are not alone. Africa, Asia, and the free and liberated people in every corner of the globe will remain at the side of the Congolese. We still believe in these words. And this is what Congo Week means for us. This is what Congo Week is about and why we continue this sacred task for Congolese independence and justice. Thank you all again for joining us. Thank you, Juliana Lumumba, and thank you all. Long live the Congo, long live Africa.
Long live. Much thanks, Sister Carrie, for sharing that heartfelt offering. And I'm seeing the Andre Blouin Center in the house. I'm seeing Mama Juliana Lumumba there, so and everyone else. So we feel you. We see you. This is a significant communion, if you may, with our ancestor, and really appreciate Mama Nabantu pointing that to the future, to the children, that in a lot of ways this work is being done to make sure that Lumumba lives. And it's good to see the youth in the room right there. At this time, Pastor Lomax was supposed to be joining us, but he has so many obligations today, but he really wanted us to pass on that this is a very special moment for him, for First African Church. And I just want to take the time to certainly not speak for him, but to appreciate the work of First African Church in standing in solidarity with the people of the Congo. And as I told Pastor Lomax, that he will be well represented today by his by the dear sisters Oyin and Sister Tyra, who will give the award to Mama Juliana. But before we do, we're gonna take a moment to share some music with you. And I think Brother Quajo, you can take us forward with this. With the
Promesse aux frères des races de relever la tête, de regarder en face un avenir que promet la délivrance. De richesse, de grandeur, c'est désormais tienne. De richesse, de grandeur, c'est désormais tienne. Ils sont les défaits dans un ciel sans couleur. Ils chaleur étouffant des crayons brillants. Désert de ma terre, même lutte des ancêtres. Martyrise la tyrannie, risque de le mettre. La terre mère, terre que tu portes au cœur. Le tifra du Congo, le terre prospère.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi qu'on c'est courant, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi qu'on c'est courant, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Oui, descendre, c'est parti à tous les vents du ciel. Et tu bâtis jadis les temples funéraires où dormaient les bourreaux d'un sommeil éternel. Poursuivis et traqués, chassés de tes villages, vaincus en des batailles où la loi du plus fort. En ces siècles barbares de rap, de carnage, signifiait pour toi l'esclavage ou la mort. Tu t'étais réfugié en ces forêts profondes où l'autre est mort, qui était sous son masque fiévreux, sous la dent du félin ou dans l'entrée du monde. Et froide du serpent, t'écrasant peu à peu. Et puis s'en va le blanc, putain. Plus sournois, putain. Plus risé, putain. Et rapace qui échangeait ton or pour de la pacotille. Violent tes femmes, enivrant tes guerriers. Par contre ces vaisseaux, tes garçons et tes filles. Le tam-tam pour donner de village en village. Pourtant au loin le deuil, c'est mon les désarrois. Disons les grands départs pour les lointains rivages où les cotons et Dieu et le dollar roi, merde. Bin, Yeah.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi vont ces courants, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi vont ces courants, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Condamné aux travaux forcés, comme une bête mon frère. Des lobes au crépuscule, nous c'est la misère. Pour te faire oublier que toi t'étais un homme, on t'a appris à chanter les louanges de Dieu. Et ce divers cantique, un rythme à ton calvaire. T'es dans l'espoir à une vie et au monde meilleur. Mais ton cœur créature humaine, tu ne demandes guère que ton droit à la vie et ta part de bonheur. Ta part de bonheur, Congo. Assis autour du feu, les yeux pleins de rêves et d'angoisse, chantant des mélopées qui disaient ton cafard, parfois joyeux aussi. Lorsque montait la sève, t'y dansais et perdu dans la moitié du soir. Et c'est là que jaillit, magnifique, sensuelle et virile, comme une voix des rangs, ici de ta douleur, ta puissante musique. Les jazz aujourd'hui admirés dans le monde, forçant les respects de l'homme blanc, en lui disant tout haut que dorénavant ces pays ne plus les siens, comme au vieux temps, comme au vieux temps.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi vont ces courants, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
À quoi vont ces courants, debout au même rang. On réclame la justice.
Je vous demande de faire de ce 30 juillet 1960 une date illustre que vous garderez ineffaçablement gravée dans vos cœurs. Une date dont vous enseignerez avec fierté la signification à vos enfants, pour que ceux-ci, à leur tour, fassent connaître à leurs fils
Thank you so
et
much
à leurs petits-fils
for that powerful
l'histoire
offering.
glorieuse.
I would, for those of us who are not experts in the other imperial language, I would just ask Brother Maurice, could you just briefly say, those who can see the video, because I've seen it before, the graphics bring across, just briefly share the title and just a little about the content of that piece that was just shared. I don't know if you can hear. You're muted.
Sure, it was a product of Yole Africa, a group in organization in Goma, the east of the country, that organizes annual film festival called the Salam Kivu International Film Festival. At the time when this was produced, it's now the Congo International Film Festival, where they bring together thousands of youth who engage in art, music, dance, theater. And this was a collaborative effort on the part of youth who assisted the conference and Yole, and basically it's a homage to Patrice Lumumba. And they made a commitment that they, as young people, would carry on the tradition and legacy and ideas and principles of Patrice Lumumba and spread it not only throughout the Congo, but throughout Africa as a whole and the globe.
Thank you. Thank you. So speaking of young people, speaking of women, thinking of Sister Juliana and her mom, you know, who stood there side by side with Patrice as they faced the terror of imperialism. I am deeply honored and humbled to introduce to you Mama Tyra Young Mwanga and Sister Oyin Kambon, who will guide us through the actual award ceremony, providing another introduction about Sister Juliana and also presenting the award. Both Sister Tyra and Oyin are members of the First African community and also long-standing, hard-working members of Friends of the Congo. These sisters are able to push vehicles uphill even when they're not working. They're able to do things. I just want to thank them so much for all the work that they did, but also the Friends of the Congo Atlanta team who, you know, my hardworking comrades, you know, they make things that are very difficult they make things happen. And as you can see, we're reaching across the waters to point out that the attempt by the Belgians, the attempt by the imperialists to kill Lumumba, to destroy Patrice Lumumba's life, it failed. Lumumba lives today. Lumumba lives in the promise, the dedication that the youths in the video just shared. So without further ado, I will hand over to Sister Tyra Young Mwanga. And again, Tyra, much gratitude, heartfelt appreciation for all you do. Over to you.
It is actually heart work for me, and I'm holding my heart. I have the privilege of introducing our sister Juliana Lumumba. She's a Pan-Africanist extraordinaire. She's followed in her father's footsteps of being a champion of Pan-Africanism and the freedom and liberation of Congo and Africa. She's keen on engaging African youth and inspiring them to fulfill their destiny. Juliana, like her father, is adamant that Africans draw from their culture, from their heritage, and from their history to inform their path forward. She was at the forefront of getting Congo's constitution translated into the country's national languages, which are Swahili, Lingala, Kikongo, and Shiluba, if I'm saying that correctly. She's a multilingual. She speaks French, Arabic, and English. She's this wonderful journalist. She's a government official and diplomat. Juliana is a champion for women's engagement and inclusion in all realms of Congolese and African society. In recent years, she has been at the forefront of the struggle for justice and dignity for her slain father, Patrice Emery Lumumba. Ashe. She has sought to have his remains returned to the Congo from Belgium and rest in a dignified fashion. Juliana has certainly done her father proud by continuing his legacy for truth, justice, and dignity in the Congo and Africa at large.
So whilst Sister Tyra, I think, prepares for our next stage, which is the actual handing over of the award to you, Sister Juliana, I just want to thank her for that offering. And that sense, I just want to point out that this was a collective effort. And Brother Maurice, I think before we go to the award ceremony, this was a process of significant reflection about the intent of the annual award ceremony. And the reason coming to the conclusion that it had to be Juliana Lumumba this year. And I just want to say that the award ceremony is, look, this is it. The Nobel Peace Prize is great, right? But we're not going to wait for it. We have reason to honor our ancestors. So I don't know if Maurice wants to jump in whilst we move forward to the actual award, to just share a little before we go to Sister Oyin about the genesis, if you may, and the intent of the award ceremony. Yes, it's to honor the person, but it's way more than that.
And certainly, the award ceremony comes in the tradition of our great Pan-Africanist leaders who relied on and actually advocated for self-sufficiency and self-determination as key pillars for our liberation as African people. And in that spirit, it's vital that we develop structures and systems of acknowledgement where we acknowledge our own. Surely our champions, the best of our people who are fighting for freedom and liberation. Many of them are acknowledged internationally and globally. However, as a Pan-African institution, drawing on the principles of self-sufficiency and self-determination, it's incumbent upon us to take the initiative to recognize those who have continued in the tradition that have been laid down by our Pan-African fathers and mothers. The Andre Blouins, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Sekou Touré's, and so forth. So it's only right that this generation, our generation, do our part to continue the traditional legacy, not only of Patrice Lumumba, but also his homologues, his counterparts that fought and placed everything on the line for the freedom and liberation of African people. So in acknowledging and recognizing those who have come before us, we felt duty-bound to initiate these awards as humble beginnings in the name of Patrice Emery Lumumba. But we expect future generations, such as those young people sitting in the Andre Blouin Center in Kinshasa, where that name is not just a name, but it carries a tremendous amount of responsibility for those of us who may not know who this great Pan-Africanist woman from the Central African Republic was, Andre Blouin. Highly encouraged that you do some research, check out or read her book, After My Country, and see the work that she did, not only in the Congo, but before she got to the Congo, the tremendous organizing that she did in Guinea alongside Sekou Touré in the late 1950s. So it's in the spirit of figures like Blouin, Pan-Africanists like Blouin, that we recognize and acknowledge our contemporary and modern day Pan-Africanists who are striving for a peaceful, just, dignified Congo and Africa.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brother Maurice. And as you go to Sister Oyin, the only thing I would add to that is if you get a chance to check out the previous awardees, several of which operated globally. And here in Atlanta, I mentioned the Capoeira Nzinga, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, the WRFG radio station, people who who have answered the call of Lumumba that the Congolese people will not be alone. And last year, we had the tremendous honor of honoring Dr. Dennis Mukwege, who, has dedicated himself to the liberation of the Congo. So Sister Oyin, it's with great pleasure again to hand over to you for the presentation of the award to our sister Juliana Lumumba.
Thank you so much, Kwame. We are honored, so honored, and appreciate your presence here today with us, sister. We would like to present you from the Friends of the Congo with the 2021 Breaking the Silence Patrice Lumumba Humanitarian Award. Congratulations. This is for your dedication and commitment you have shown in carrying out the legacy of your father, Patrice Lumumba, the manner in which you have introduced the ideas and teachings of your father to a new generation of Congolese and African people. Your dedication to Pan-African ideals and aspirations of your father and his fellow African freedom fighters, and your high standards of ethical conduct that you have demonstrated in your pursuit of justice and dignity for the Congo people, and because you embrace Friends of the Congo's vision of global and social responsibility as it relates to the social, environmental, and political justice for our people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Africa as a whole. We invite you to accept the award and celebrate with us by attending this presentation.
Okay.
Let's turn it this way. There you go. I'm sorry. Trying to
Thank
get
you
it through
for that.
the award.
Oh, Yin, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
If you could, I don't know if you're going to anyway, the symbol, the award has some symbolism with it. Like it's a flame, right? And there's a statement at the bottom of the flame on the wooden part. Do you care to say a little about this, the symbolism of the award, or if not so? You're muted, sister. I'm muted too. Sister Tyra, you're muted.
I've just been talking. We don't have that document right in front of us. And I'm thinking, maybe Kwame, do you remember some of the pieces about what the flame represents? I'm throwing this back to you. Our burning flame, she definitely is. And
Yes.
the red stands for the fire. Kwame.
Yeah, and the great. Yes, so the spirit of Lumumba lives. The flame was not put out, and it burns deep in our hearts. This is the spirit, the energy with which Dr. Mukwege received the award. Think of the terrible attempt by the oppressors to squash, to out the flame, to out the light, right? And these lights, we will let them shine. And it's embodied in the spirit of the youth to keep rising. And I think it was Dr. Mukwege said that once these young people keep coming back after being brutalized and violated and up against a global system, essentially, that benefits from the abuse, that those young women that said, I want to continue. I want to be a doctor. I want to help my people in the spirit, much like Mama Juliana. We think of the terrible challenge to a family where it would be understandable if the family said, you know what, this is too much. We need to retreat. We need to reach We need to find refuge. They stood in the breach. They contend, and the flame represents that fire of freedom, and that burns in our hearts of our ancestors, and no doubt will burn as we go forward. So I want to thank Sister Oyin and Mama Tyra for all the hard work you did. Just amazing. And we're going to go now to the very special part of the ceremony where we're going to invite Mama, sister, friend, comrade, Juliana Lumumba to share with us her reflections, her response to this gathering today. Thank you so much, sister. To you, Mama Juliana. You're muted. The mic.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Okay. Thank you very much. I'll try to speak in English. My English is not really good, but I'll do my best. I'm really honored and blessed to get this award from the Friends of the Congo, because I didn't expect it. And I know if I have it today, because I had a wonderful people working with me. And with you, I say thank to you, because we can go further to advance in our initiatives to create a sustainable change. And really, I believe that together, we can bridge our continents, our cultures, and to go further with all the people around us and to help not only all our communities and individuals, to empower them, to go further, to sustain them in their initiative, and to empower them with resources, with skills, with all that we can to create what I call a sustainable development in innovative way, creative way, that is correspond to our values, to our cultures, to what we believe in. But because all the youth, we had a session today, and they are, how's it, the richness. And with this award, you give us strength to continue to go forward, to believe in what we do, and to believe that as African and African descendant, no matter where we are, we want to go further. And with concept, when we unite, we can really change the things. And we have to fight the real fight and ask the real questions to have the solution for our wealth, development, and richness together. And thank you very much. And all of our gathering, most of them are young, are very blessed, and are very proud that you there, your friends and father and mother there, think about them. And they say thank you too, because this award is not for me, it's for all of us.
That's true. Yeah.
You can
Thank you so much for that. I mean, that we have the opportunity to speak with Patrice Lumumba and Mama Lumumba's daughter is huge. It is not what the enemy wanted. They wanted to wipe out the memory, the presence of Lumumba. Instead, he looms even larger, a beacon, you know, as we continue the work. So I want to thank you that we are on schedule. We really want to thank HMG for joining us. That's the broadcast in this broadcast, and we have an interlude of music. HMG does have to stand down at 1 o'clock, but they're with us for a while. I just want to take this opportunity to thank them. Wow, it's so generous. They've extended for another 20 minutes. This gives us the opportunity to broadcast and amplify the work we're doing. What we're saying about this broadcast is that it can reach people who really need this. It's not just here. Somewhere in the African world, hopefully some child, some elder will hear the message and be inspired by it, just like you are at the Andre Blouin Center. So this work is much appreciated and it's not taken lightly. And it's in that spirit that I thank HMG, breaking the silence, speaking for those who can't speak anymore, speaking for those who the enemy attempts to silence with the violence and the terror. That's why, to me, the work of solidarity, the work of raising our voices is on the front line. And it's no less important than anyone else. So I want to thank HMG for their ongoing support and solidarity. Brother Kwajo, we need to go to a piece of music. Or before we do, I was just wondering if there was anyone in the panel that wants to respond, particularly to Mama Giuliana sharing. But with the understanding that we're going to have some more time to interact with Mama Giuliana after 1. But Maurice, Kari, Didier, any response to Mama Giuliana response, or Mama Nabantu?
Sure, I'll say a few words, Brother Kwame. Just wanted to thank our sister, fellow freedom fighter, Juliana Lumumba, for accepting the award from us in the first place, and amplify her call, particularly to the younger generation. As we know, the African continent is a continent of teenagers. I believe, according to the data in the Congo itself, where she hails, the median age is 17. So, like her father, who issued a message to the African youth, she's also carrying on that tradition and engaging the African youth. So, wanted to just thank her for continuing the legacy. We're certainly humbled by her acceptance of the award that we presented to her, and we'll do our best to amplify her words and spread them far and wide. In every corner that we go, we'll carry her words with us, and not only her father's ideas, but Juliana herself, who is a freedom fighter in her own right, as her sister Tyra laid out in her bio. So we're just making that commitment on behalf of Friends of the Congo to continue to amplify the struggle of Congolese and the principles of the Lumumbas for justice and human dignity and liberation, issuing out of the heart of the African continent to all the corners of the continent as a whole, and the African world broadly. So thank you very much, Sister Juliana.
Yes, indeed. And, so in that spirit of salutations, the Congolese woman, you know, African women, it's the birth of humanity, and you know, bringing in us all. We're gonna Brother Quadjo, by the way, even though you can't see him, all of this is possible because of his work and some of the others in the collective. So big respect. Quadjo is gonna share a piece. Well, he's not gonna play. He's gonna share an offering called Congolese Woman. And so we shall hear about the honor and the way we need to celebrate the ongoing work of Congolese women.
I'm wondering, I know it wasn't on the program, but I'm wondering if we could read some of the comments from the chat box while Brother Quadjo is getting things together.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Can you go ahead, Sister Tyra?
So this comes from Wendy Green. Sister Juliana, may you be abundantly blessed. All of us who are the children of Africa lift you up in spirit and thank you for letting our ancestors guide you in our ongoing struggle.
Wonderful. Sister Tyra, if I could just interject.
Yes.
I think Pastor Lomax is with us. I don't know if there's a way, Brother Claude and Quadjo, if you could bring him up so you can share briefly. Thank you so much, Pastor Lomax. If you're still with us.
You should say it.
Is he still with us?
We're not able to promote him.
Yeah, he might have jumped.
We weren't able to promote him as a speaker.
Okay.
We can proceed with the program, please.
Yes. Okay, cool. All right, Brother Quadjo.
Your spirit may fly away, and your body may be broken. Your lips, they may not speak, for some things cannot be spoken. But time will not forget about the price you had to pay for the greed of men who did not respect the woman, the Congolese woman, oh the woman. They hurt your body and your mind, and they take away your land. They take away your jobs, put guns in your enemies' hands. How many more must die before the whole world pays for the telling of the lies, the killings and the rape of the woman, the Congolese woman? You dry your eyes and you keep it going. Pull yourself up with your own strong hand, strong and ever reaching for the sky that is a woman. Your spirit may fly away, and your body may be broken. Your lips, they may not speak, for some things cannot be spoken. But time will not forget about the price you had to pay for the greed of men who did not respect the woman, oh, the Congolese woman, the woman, oh, the woman.
I think if you go to the conversation.
Hello. So that was a powerful video. And it's always moving to see the. I think one of the slogans was "From pain to power." You can certainly see that, pain to promise and power. So salutations to the Congolese woman, Congolese women. Sister Tyra, I cut you off as you were sharing some of the chats. I don't know if there's anything else, but Dr. Lomax did ask that you convey his congratulations to Mama Juliana. So I'll let you. You're muted.
My apologies. I wasn't aware that it was being shown on screen. Are we waiting on Pastor Lomax?
No, he was on earlier, but he had to come up because he has that commitment here. But he wanted you, and I guess I'm kind of doing it, so to bring greetings again from FAC, and he wanted to extend his congratulations to Sister Juliana. But you can go ahead and embellish that some more.
I can say a few things about First African Church, which is a church that embodies the spirit of the Congolese people, I feel. And I can't remember Fukiao's first name, but he initially sat down with a group of people and they came up with ways of doing church, African style. And Fukiao was a Congolese that we had the opportunity, or they had the opportunity to interface with, and he was their advisor from what I understand. And so it was very appropriate to choose a First African willingly accepted the charge, their members, and many of our activities here in Atlanta are held at the church. So I'm not sure what all he would say, but we are definitely very glad and very proud to have to be part of Friends of the Congo. And it's actually my initial encounter with the Friends of the Congo, which was during, I believe, a Bible study, or they brought Kwame and friends there to inform. And I became very excited about joining this wonderful organization. And before I go on to give my testimony, I think I'm going to turn it back to you, Kwame.
Okay, thank you so much, Sister Tyra. Multitasking here. But the next segment of the program, Sister Juliana, is for a conversation, if you may, with the community gathered here, so we can exchange some thoughts, some ideas. And I think Sister Tyra Hard, you see she's carrying the load, is gonna facilitate a conversation with Juliana, and we invite, hopefully we can get full participation from the community gathered here. So Sister Tyra, back to you.
Most definitely. I am so excited to be able to have this wonderful, wonder-filled opportunity to have a conversation with Juliana Lumumba. We are going to hear, or we want to hear, reflections from her about her life, her relationship with her dad, and various topics, and it's unlimited. I remember, Juliana, you saying, well, they can ask me anything. We love that. And I did say we, and we includes everyone who is in our audience, everyone who is attending either by way of Zoom or Facebook or the webinar. And I'm assuming, is HDTV still on? Yes, or did they sign on?
We need some music. There's a song that we need.
Oh, okay. So shall I kind of pause and let something else happen? I'm not sure.
No,
please keep the ball rolling.
Okay, the
Yes,
ball is rolling. It is. And I did say we, because we want everybody to be able to participate. Put your questions in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking, and we will definitely ask and pass the information or the questions or concerns on to Juliana. So if you would please put your entries, your comments, your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we possibly can. So I will begin by asking you, Sister Juliana, if you could tell us more about who you are, another window. We've heard conversations, or we've heard people talking about you and your introduction, and as people have been making comments. But we want to know, or I'd like to know on behalf of Friends of the Congo, if there is something else that you would like to say to us about who you are before we begin. And that was to you, Sister Juliana.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You asked me who I am. It's a very difficult question because I don't know how to talk about myself. If you can be more precise about something, I will answer. Because saying just like that, I don't know. I made so many things. I've been a journalist. I've been a lot of things. So please be more precise so I can really answer.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't know where to begin with.
Gotcha. Well, can we begin at the beginning? Have those questions coming, people.
And please, Sister Juliana, if you can, please speak closer to the mic so we can hear you better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, what can I say? That I'm the daughter of Patrice Lumumba. And for me, he's not my hero, he's just my father. And I grew up with the idea with my mother, we grew up in Egypt. And in Egypt, they respect a great Patrice Lumumba, and they are very nationalist. And our Egyptian family, we went to French schools because we have to go back home one day. And we were friends with the Nasser family, the Kwame Nkrumah family, his Egyptian wife, and his sons and daughters who are friends till now. And I remember then I went to Europe to study. I just wanted to know something else than Egypt. And I went to France, and I was very keen. They taught us who was our father and what he fought for. Because my Egyptian father, the man who raised us as his family, created the African Association in Egypt. And the African Association in 48, it was like the echoes of all the liberation movements in Egypt. So when we were young, I've seen Amilcar Cabral, Agostinho Neto, Sam Nujoma, all these people at home when I was young, and others. So it was a very revolutionary family, and we were 6 of us, 3 white and 3 blacks. And there was never a difference between us, white and blacks. And when we were young, he would say, my daughter, my son, my son, my son, my son. And that's it. And we grew up with the idea that we have to go back to our country. And our father, his name is Mr. Abdelaziz Ishaq, he came to Congo at that moment in 1960 to open the embassy. And he met my father. And with the difficulties, he wrote to the Egyptian government, to the president Nasser, because at that moment, after all, my father was under house arrest. And they wanted to rescue the children who we were. So the Egyptian government agreed, and for the first time, we had false passport as his sons and daughter. And so we had to get out of this house. Francois, Patrice, and me. Roland stayed with mom. Francois was Tarek, Patrice was Omar, and me, I was Fatma, the daughter of Mr. Abdelaziz. And we had to rush to the airport. But how to get out of the house under house arrest? And all the photographs in the world knows who we are and how we look like. Anyway, the Egyptians sent in Egyptian contingent at the Congo at that time. So they put that in Egypt all over, boxes from the Prime Minister. And my father told Francois, who was 9 years old, that we are going to Egypt, we are going to learn, and we are going to learn everything to university. But whatever happens, we have to come back home to work at home. And then we arrived at Egypt, and we grew up there. And we grew up in a family that my Egyptian father, like I told you, he created the African Association. And we used to sit around, all of us, white and blacks, and he will explain to us our history, who my father was, who Chombe was, who Kazavubu, and whatever, all the history about our country. And he sent us to French-speaking school, not English, because in Egypt, the second language is English, because we have to go back home one day. And he promised my father that we would go back. And that is one part. I grew up in Egypt, and then I went to France. And I remember that I was very revolutionary, you know, with all these ideas. And I decided one day I was in university that I have to go to America to talk about Congo. I was 19 years old, and I made a tour in the United States, in the universities all over, you know, from Rhode Island to California. I've made, I don't know, so many more than 20 states. I was 20 years, I didn't speak a word of English, I didn't care, I just saying, I was talking about Congo, about what's happening there, and I was already in the opposition. In the movement, in the opposition movement with my brothers. And in 1981, we made the revival of the Mouvement National Congolais Lumumba in Europe, and I was the spokesperson for more than 10 years of the party, of the party of my father. And what else? When I was in France, I was a journalist. After university, I was a journalist in Al Ahram International. It's an Egyptian newspaper, editing 1 million copy a day. I was in Al Ahram International, and then another international group. I was a journalist something like 12, 13 years. And I opened in Al Manar department, African department, because they were interested mostly to North Africa, and I was the only black African woman in Egypt, in Arabic magazines in France. And I fought to have the African department talking about sub-Saharan Africa in these magazines, and talking about human rights, not only Palestinian problem, but also apartheid and anti-apartheid. So we have these two sections that I opened. And from there, I went all over Africa as a journalist. And then in 1994, I decided to come back home. Mom, mother, and Roland, the youngest one, they have already went to Kinshasa, Zaire at that moment, and I wanted to go back home. I was tired of being in Europe, and you feel that there is no horizon. And for me, really, I wanted to go back home and to try to be, to help and to be more useful to me and to the community. And I felt it really very hard. And security problems were better, so we could go. I went there. I get back home, and I was very happy to go back home. I feel that I belong. I'm not an exile anymore for more than 30 years. To come back home to our country. And I've been there, I've been working, I had edited a newspaper, and after that, in 1997, Kabila came, and I became a Vice Minister of Information and Culture for 8 months, and then Minister of Culture for 5 years, and then that's part of it. It's okay. I have to continue. And what else? Ask me some more questions.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for offering so much. I think I'm going to go to the question and answer, but let me ask this of the technicians and everyone else. When I pull up the question and answer, is that visible to everybody else? I'm technologically inept or ignorant.
I can see it.
You could see it when I pull it
I can
up?
see a question in the chat, and I could read it if you want.
Would you please?
Yeah, so this one says, and it's from, I think it was one before that. Oops. It was asking if Sister Juliana could speak to the greatest challenges facing the DRC in particular and Africa as a whole. And it comes from Sister Wendy Green. I'll read again. Sister Juliana, at this moment, what do you think are the greatest challenges, sorry about that, facing the DRC in particular and Africa as a whole?
Yes, we have a lot of challenges in Africa, but I think for me, it's not the greatest. It's one of the challenges, because when we talk about Africa, Africa is more than 54 countries today, and what is a challenge in Sudan is not a challenge in Mauritania or whatever. So we are united and we are different. But I think that what is more important, that we have to review our history to build our future. And I think that is very important, because we have been told, we have this mentality, especially the elite, that everything that is coming from abroad is the right thing. And I don't believe in that, because we don't know really who we are. We have been independent for 60 years, and with the development assistance, we didn't develop, because you cannot develop with others' values, with others' culture. With the question raised elsewhere, not your own question. We have to think about ourselves, about the evolution of the situation in our own countries to get the real solutions, and not only to copy what is elsewhere. I don't say that what is elsewhere is bad. No, it doesn't fit for us, because we don't dare to think of our own culture, to think where are we going through, what we really want as Congolese, as Africans, and what are really our values, what are really is our culture, where we are going through, what are these really questions. And I believe, and I keep saying it, we have all the assets, we have all the initiatives, we have the intellectual elite, here you are in Africa and elsewhere, we have the artistic elite, we have the economic elite, we have communities, NGOs, we have, religious communities, we have unions, so we have sports communities. We have all these assets to think really about ourselves with all our own values, and to try to build a sustainable development. And I believe in it, that we can do it this way, and we will win if we dare to think out of the box, out of what they say we are, and we have to do. We have to do it by our own selves. That's what I think. That's it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
If I was speaking in an hour.
Oh, you were clear, sister.
You definitely were, and your English is good. And I must add that Juliana pretty much insisted that she do this in English because she wanted to communicate with us in the best way. And I for one, I'm definitely understanding what she's saying, and that has definitely been the case when we were in conversation. So from Karen Bauer, that everybody might be able to see, she thanks you so much for sharing these amazing details of your story. And her question is, can you speak a bit more about your work in the Congo during Laurent Kabila's time?
My work during Kabila's time?
Yes.
I was a minister. I was a minister of culture, so I was not doing the job. And I remember I had to make, we had the, the framework of the Constitution, and we translated it in the 4 languages of our country. That means Lingala, Swahili, Chiluba, and Kikongo. Because I said, we are talking about Constitution for the first time, but how can I explain it to my auntie down there in the in the country? How shall I explain it? So we try, and you have campaigns for polio, and we try all the flyers to make the flyers in also our national languages. And I remember I had the responsibility of the big rallies, you know, of the 30th of June, Independence Day, the 17th of May, all this. And I translated our national hymn in Swahili and Lingala, and we started it in Swahili, you know, the rally, and or in Lingala. And it's normal because we have to be proud of our own languages, and we have to be consistent. We want to be ourselves, but how can you only talk about your national hymn and you can't sing it in your own language? So between the things I've done a lot. We went to the last exhibition of the century in Portugal, and we won one of the first awards from the DRC, and that's it. A lot of things like that. I was just doing my job. What else?
Thank you for all of the information that you're sharing with us. I see that there's another question in the chat that I don't want to fill that up. Kwame, can you see that in order to ask it?
Okay.
I don't have. Yeah, Juliana, you may or may not be able to see it, Kwame, or any of the members of the team.
Well, there's a couple of questions, just briefly.
Okay.
So you can see it?
Please. Please. I can see them.
Okay, great.
So you have to. I cannot see the question.
Okay.
Okay. So
yes,
one in the Q&A is a question. It says from Dani Kisembo. It says, Mama Juliana Mwana Mboka, we are so proud of you. And as a young Congolese woman, I was wondering, what are the challenges you had going through within our Congolese government in the process of bringing our founding father home where he belongs in bold? And I'm going to put another question in there, Mama Juliana. The question from Ira Dworkin, Congo love song, correct? Ira Dworkin thanks you for this event. Thanks, Friends of the Congo. And he's asking about bringing home, the efforts to bring home the sacred human remains of Patrice. This is a similar question. So if you can take both of those, that'd be wonderful.
Okay. Because for me, it was so important, I wrote to the king to bring back home the remains of my father. And we are talking of bringing back home when we were sure that these remains exist. And for us, my brothers and me, it's to bring him back home where he belongs to, the land of his ancestors. And he has to come back to the land he fought for, and he was killed and assassinated for. I know that is symbolic, but because when we talk about the truth, it's not a person, but it's symbolic. But he has to be there, and it's very important, not only for us as children, as daughter and sons of Patrice Lumumba, like every son, he has to bury his father. And the other thing, every death in our culture is a renaissance, is a rebirth. And when we will bury his land to his ancestral, where he belongs to, and he loved his country more than everything. Even as his daughter, I can say he loved it more than his own children. It's so important. And for us, it won't be only a burial time, a weeping time. It will be a rebirth of hope, a rebirth of what he wanted to do. So they can, and African and Congolese people have to have somewhere to pay respect to him, to pay respect, and not only to him, to all the martyrs in French. And it's important. And this ceremony has been delayed 2 times. The last time by the president because of the COVID-19. The Belgian government were ready, we were ready, all the stages were settled, especially in Belgium and in here. And now we are supposed to come back for the remain for the 17th of January. It was the day of his assassination. And we hope that this time we won't have another delay.
Ashe, thank you so much for that. Sister Tyra, if I could go. Oh, go ahead, Mama. Go ahead.
Something. And for us, coming back with the remains of my father and Okito Ompolo is also, we have to come back with the memory, one part of the history of our modern history. Because all this history, we don't know it all over yet, especially here. And we have to agree that we need, and I told Belgium, that if we want a reconciliation, we need a reconciliation of memories. Because we cannot make a reconciliation when our memories is so different and is so contradictory. So it's important also for our history. Because Lumumba is a reference in this country, and he was a political leader, and he had a lot of people with him or against him. So it's an important part in our history too. That's it.
Thank you. There's another in the chat that asks, by way of experiencing Baba Patrice Lumumba, or through your study of him, what principles or lessons have shaped you the most?
I don't really understand the question. What shaped me the most? I don't.
Yes, I'm wondering how has your father's legacy influenced your life's path? Is that any clearer?
Yeah, it's normal because how can I say it? I was very close to my father, so I had a special relation. And if you see the photos holding a child is always me, because I was the only one, the only girl at that moment. And I had all the names of my grandma, his mother, Juliana, Amado, Apamato, Lomenja, Anahindo, all these names. And something that my mother remind us who was her husband. She always said that. She said, you have to deserve to be called Lumumba. So we have to be first at class, to be polite, to be whatever, and to have ambition. And my mother, she was a strong woman, being widows at 23. And she never complained. She had ups and downs. And she said, my father was dead, my husband was this, was that. And she wanted us to go further. She said, your father wants you to be what you do most. And she will. And of course, when we are, how say it, the children of violence. And that's the thing that I hate violence, because but I think that God, in His Almighty, we grew up in Egypt, surrounded with a lot of compassion, love, and understanding. And being a daughter of a positive figure, because my father is a positive figure when I was young, because when you were young, I go to friend's house. Oh, mom, that is Juliana. Okay, Juliana Lumumba. Oh, everybody was like that. So we wanted to deserve, to be dignity, to be a Lumumba. And not saying, bragging, I'm Lumumba. We didn't have to say it. We have to show it by our attitude and how we can be. Because my mother, my Egyptian father, everybody was talking to us about who our father was. So we wanted to be like him. We wanted to deserve to be called daughter of Lumumba. And we have this ambition because he had big ambitions for women, and he wanted women to go further. So my mother was always making me having a license, another one, studying, and I love to study anyway. It wasn't so for me. It wasn't hard to be the daughter of Lumumba. It was something, I would say, positive, and it pushed me to go further. The only thing that somewhere it is painful now that he's not here to see. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sister Tyra. Before you go, just a process point. HMG is signing off. We'll continue with the conversation. We want to thank them again for being with us and for extending the time. And we just have a few more questions, and we have Brother Maurice will give a wrap-up statement. But I was wondering before you go, Mama Nabantu had a question, and Mama Nabantu, you could unmute and ask the question directly. And then I would like to hear from the rest of your comrades and colleagues, your brothers and sisters gathered at the center, if we can hear a word from them, if they have anything to say before we wrap up. That might be good. So we're into the last half. Okay. We have okay in a minute. But yeah. But before we go, we'll go to a question.
Yes, most of them are students.
Okay.
They want to go to
in a minute. Before we go to the student,
they can prepare themselves to speak next.
In a minute, Mama Juliana. We'll go to Mama Nabantu. She's going to ask you a question, then we'll come to the students.
promesse aux frères des races de relever la tête, de regarder en face un avenir qui promet la délivrance. De richesse, de grandeur, c'est désormais tienne. De richesse, de grandeur, c'est désormais tienne. Du soleil des faits dans un ciel sans couleur, une chaleur étouffante, des crayons brillants, désert de ma terre, même lutte des ancêtres. Martyrise la tyrannie, risque de le mettre. La terre mère, terre que tu portes au cœur, et tu feras du Congo une terre prospère.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Oui, descendre, c'est parti à tous les vents du ciel. Et tu bâtis jadis les temples funéraires où dormaient les bourreaux d'un sommeil éternel. Poursuivis et traqués, chassés de tes villages, vaincus en des batailles où la loi du plus fort. En ces siècles barbares de rap, de carnage, signifiait pour toi l'esclavage ou la mort. Tu t'étais réfugié en ces forêts profondes, où l'autre est mort, qui était sous son masque fiévreux, sous la dent du félin, ou dans l'entrée du monde, effroide du serpent, t'écrasant peu à peu. Et puis s'en va les blancs, putain, plus sournois, putain, plus risé, putain. Et rapace qui échangeait ton or pour de la pacotille, violant tes femmes, enivrant tes guerriers, par contre ces vaisseaux, tes garçons et tes filles. Le tam-tam pour donner de village en village, pourtant au loin le deuil, c'est mon les désarrois. Disons les grands départs pour les lointains rivages où les cotons et Dieu et le dollar roi, merde. Bin, yeah.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Condamné aux travaux forcés, comme une bête mon frère. Des lobes au crépuscule, nous c'est la misère. Pour te faire oublier que toi t'étais un homme, on t'a appris à chanter les louanges dédiées et ce divers cantique, un rythme à ton calvaire. T'es dans l'espoir à une vie et au monde meilleur. Mais ton cœur, créature humaine, tu ne demandes guère que ton droit à la vie et ta part de bonheur. Ta part de bonheur, Congo. Assis autour du feu, les yeux pleins de rêves et d'angoisse, chantant des mélopées qui disaient ton cafard, parfois joyeux aussi. Lorsque montait la sève, tu dansais et perdu dans la moitié du soir. Et c'est là que jaillit, magnifique, sensuelle et virile, comme une voix des reins, ici de ta douleur, ta puissante musique. Les jazz aujourd'hui admirés dans le monde, forçant les respects de l'homme blanc, en lui disant tout haut que dorénavant ces pays ne plus les siens, comme au vieux temps, comme au vieux temps.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Au nom de la justice.
On a tous deux droits, on hausse tous nos voix. Qu'elle soit faite la justice,
au nom de la justice.
Avant ses courants, debout au même rang, on réclame la justice.
Je vous demande de faire de ce 30 juillet 1960 une date illustre que vous garderez ineffaçablement gravée dans vos cœurs. Une date dont vous enseignerez avec fierté la signification à vos enfants, pour que ceux-ci, à leur tour, fassent connaître à leurs fils et à leurs petits-fils l'histoire glorieuse de notre lutte pour la liberté.